and gentlemen. First of all, welcome to our session for today. I'm pleased to welcome Ms. Lalitha, who is the CEO of one of AirAsia latest initiative that focuses on farming and connecting the farmers to businesses, right? Let me just set the context why this is important. Driving the economic sectors for Malaysia. As a nation, we must ensure that data is being generated and collected so that it can be harnessed uh, to obtain new insights for the well-being for the nation and society. And one of the key aspects of Malaysia 5.0 is to build the digital infrastructure to allow Malaysia to leapfrog to the digital age, where data is one of the key critical elements. We need to ensure that the elements of data are in place, right? So UNDAC actually focus on nurturing, enable and empower digital businesses as part of our continuous effort to drive the digitization agenda for the country by amplifying the use of data and data technology. For example, data analytics and AI. And this is actually the focus of today's session for today, right? And as part of our effort, we want to make sure that the businesses realize the potential of being data-driven and how companies can leverage on digital platforms as well as data to make informed decisions, as well as to help to pivot their business and also to look at new opportunities to grow, right? So with me here today, we actually have Ms. Lalitha. Let me just read her brief bio. All right. Lalitha is actually the CEO of OURFARM, which is actually a B2B e-commerce platform connect local agriculture producers directly to business. And OURFARM was established in recently in June 2020, and it's a collective effort by AirAsia Group with full support of Ministry of Education. And prior to this, Lalitha was the CEO of Our Shop, which is the e-commerce arm of AirAsia. And she's also an award-winning project manager, where she spearhead, AirAsia Wi-Fi project, the Rocky, that led AirAsia into the Malaysia Book of Records, as well as winning the Asia Pacific Award for the best airline experience 2018. Right. So previously, Lalitha works in the telco industry, and she held management position in Time.com, Celcom, Axiata, and Nexus. Right. It's a pleasure to invite Lalitha to be for you to be here today. We're actually happy that you agreed to be in our session.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much, Dr. Karl.
Right. So perhaps you can tell us a bit about how our farm started, and how does digital platform plays a critical role in developing our farm.
Okay, so our farm is not too old. We started in June of 2020. The idea popped about right in the middle of MCO in March, when our planes were not flying, borders were closed, AirAsia was in hibernation. A lot of people were requesting for refunds, and I'm sure a lot of you were impacted by that as well. So Asia being Asia, we not want to put our head in the sands and start crying. What we did was we pivoted businesses. So the business I was managing at that point in time was Our Shop. And Our Shop was a marketplace for duty free, and be it whether you pick it up in the airport or be it delivered to your seat, we were selling duty free items, anything from all the products in the world to all the Calvin Kleins and all the liquor and all the makeup and whatever not was being sold on the portal. So come MCO, no one's buying, no one's buying duty free. What do? We decided to pivot to a home delivery business. So we started selling many things, from fashion to food to shoes to everything on the platform. We went out with a big campaign called Save Our Shops. because a lot of the shops were closed, we started speaking to small little merchants out there who were nail parlors or hairstylists who had no way of making an income. We help them push their produce or their products on our platform. But out of this initiative, we realized two things. One is it's a pandemic. No one's going to buy nail polish and hair products. People were more into buying food because everyone was hoarding, everyone was panic buying. So food was the main source of purchases on the platform. At the same time, we also realized our own Santan business. We have a Santan. We had a Santan cafe then, but now we have many cafes already. Was having shortage of their fresh produce because mainly all the farmers, they were cut off from the market. They depended on many middlemen who could not reach them, and they could not reach the middlemen. Therefore, they were throwing away their produce. So how data came about in this sense is, number one, we understood trends from our current businesses. We went about understanding trends from external parties. We listed things were in our face. We read newspapers every day. We heard the news every day. The different politicians, the different MPs, everyone was talking about how farmers were being marginalized in this whole situation and they were having issues. So Tony being my boss, decided that he needs to do something to change that situation around. So we used an existing platform called the Our Shop platform. We pivoted that to our farm. We realized that there was a good measure that we could take to eliminate the middleman in the realm of the fresh produce business. We started connecting farmers directly to businesses and providing the logistical transport in between through our sister company Teleport and in partnership with the lorry as well. So yes, data comes in many forms. It's observation, it's from the news, it's from our own platforms. Everywhere had data touch points for us to reach out to, and that's how this whole project started.
Wow, it sounds like a very exciting project. And in terms of the time frame, I understand that you mentioned to me earlier on, it only took you like 8 weeks to basically pivot and to actually develop the platform.
Yes, it literally took us 8 weeks.
Yeah. So tell me the story. How do you manage to develop something so fast? What sort of critical factor of the success, and also what does the role of Tony plays in trying to drive and make sure that this gets done within such a short period of time?
I think Tony, in his own way, instills the sense of urgency in a lot of us. A lot of our businesses are built around the needs of or a problem statement out there. And when there is a problem and you need to address it in a fast way, you tend to push yourself that extra mile to do it. But fortunately, within AirAsia, our digital journey did not start yesterday or during MCO. Our digital journey started many years ago. In fact, AirAsia was one of the many few companies in Asia that actually went digital to sell their tickets many years ago, before any of the airlines were even brave enough to venture into that space. So having an e-commerce platform already in place from the airline, then pivoting that even before MCO into an Our Shop sort of platform, and then further pivoting it into a B2B platform was a very easy process for us, because number one, we are digitally driven already. Number two, we have the digital expertise in our organization, and number three, we have data to back all our decisions as we go along.
Alright. So when it comes to data, how big it's your team within the organization that does data? Do you have like a dedicated team that analyze data and also to provide you with the insights needed to drive that business decision?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in Asia itself, there is a huge team, they call the Center of Excellence. And reason why we have a huge team in Asia is because it's not only one business. It's not only AirAsia's business, right? We've got Big Pay, we've got Santan, we've got Big Life or the Big Points guys. We've got Asia Food, we've got Teleport, we've got a humongous realm of information out there. So the team was set together many years ago. I think that was about 4 or 5 years ago, and then we set up the Center of Excellence to manage data and make sense of this data. So it's not just plain data. We don't see data as just a one-dimensional form. We see it in a proper three-dimensional form because we get to see the trends of a individual in many different parts of our business and understand how their needs are, what their spends are, what their behavior is over different platforms. They might be spending million or hundreds of ringgit on one platform and then spending 10 ringgit on the next platform. So analyzing all that makes the team very active on a daily basis to figure out the different trends.
Okay. Yeah, I think we do run quite a different line of businesses. How critical is data plays in the daily operation of your businesses, and also in terms of making strategic decisions?
I would say the criticality level is very high in Asia when it comes to making decisions and especially on a daily basis. We monitor dashboards for daily trends, whether it's numbers, whether it's churn rates, whether it's uh, food issues, whether it's complaints. Everything is managed via dashboards, and we try to make sense of it. So this any decision made out of in AirAsia will have to have been substantiated by a data form. So it's always started with a problem statement backed by some data, and this data can be internal data or it can also be external data. We use external trendings to also understand whether we're making the right choice, the right move.
Right.
So it is, I would say, in terms of how critical it is very, very critical.
Right. In the area of OURFARM, I understand that this is actually a B2B platform, and then there's actually a price of different producers, right, in the platform, right? How do you set these prices, and then how do you benchmark these prices to make sure that they are fair and also sustainable for your farmers, but at the same time, reasonable to your buyers as well?
Okay, so again, data comes into place. Fortunately, we have had our own food businesses within the company. We have our own in-flight catering. We have Santana cafes. We've had Tea and Co. We also have partners like Tune Hotel and the Ormond Group and all these people within our own ecosystem, right?
Right.
So pricing from their perspective was one of the benchmarks we took. We also have external tools given by different organizations in Malaysia, like iHarga. I don't know whether you've heard of it. It actually tells you on a daily basis what the different pricing of different producers are within, whether it's highland or whether it's lowland. All the different pricing of these producers are then tabulated in that tool. Of course, we spent loads of time with the farmer themselves to understand the pricing that is indicated in all these end user environments are already inflated. But what we've grown to understand is the farmers over the last 3 generations, or at least since our independence, have not had much margin increases from their end.
Okay.
Although cost of living has gone up, they have just remained the same in terms of their income. So what we've done is we've gone to understand where they are and where their pain points are, and then we try and benchmark to ensure that, because now we're trying to trying to eliminate or trying to replace the middleman, right? So when you try to replace the middleman, you're trying to deflate that prices in the middle and trying to give back as much as you can to the farmer. At
Right.
the same time, reduce costs for the businesses. So,
Okay.
so there's a lot of data that gets into this and a lot of logic that we put together to understand. It's human element at the same time because we talk to the farmers. At the same time, benchmarking it against these tools that we have, and then coming up with a fair price for both sides, the business as well as the farmer.
Right. So how has been the traction so far in terms of the take up of our farm services and offering? How many farmers that you have in the platform and buyers, and where are they from?
Okay, so as we started in June of on the 15th of June to be precise of 2020, we currently have about 875 farmers, predominantly from West Malaysia and 155 of them in Sabah. We also have close to 100 buyers buying from us right now, also from Sabah and West Malaysia. They are anyone from biofuel specialists who are trying out um, vegetables to see how they can gain fuel from it. We've got chef company or pet chef companies that actually make gourmet food through fresh produce. We've got hotels, we've got warungs, we've got a realm of different businesses that buy fresh produce from us today.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In terms of, you mentioned earlier on, I think our farm is also not just a business venture, but also I think has the society at heart as well. Because I think you're also serving the farmers who have been marginalized all this while, right? So in terms of I think one of the challenge in the agriculture industry is one of the most underserved industry when it comes to digital, but also I think initiatives such as this, right? So when you look at the farmers community, I'm sure that you gone up down the ground, right? So what do you see the opportunities and potential when it comes to data driven solutions or getting them to be more digitally savvy? You know.
I think if I were to put a percentage out there, I would say that about 20% of the farmers are somewhat digitally savvy with mobile phones and tablets and so on and so forth. But there's a good 80% of them who are still very old school. When I say old school, you deal with them and they give you like, those receipts that are handwritten on a piece of paper or behind an old newspaper and so on and stuff like that, which is very, very, very old school. So the challenge there is for us to educate people and bring them up to digitalization and make them realize that how a digital platform can not only ease a lot of their tasks, but also help them understand where they are. Today, a lot of the farmers, when we speak to different financial organizations, also have issues getting funding from the government because they do not have proper bookkeeping. As basic as managing an income statement is already a big problem for them. Some of the farmers don't even have a bank account, they are cash transactional people. So we do take a lot of time and initiative with a lot of the different organizations in Malaysia to try and help these farmers upskill themselves from basics of registering their company right up to teaching them through our sister company. We've got a company called Redbit Academy in collaboration with Google.
Mhm.
So we actually help have programs to upskill them, to teach them how to do digital banking, how to use tools to keep track of your income and your output and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of initiatives on our end to try and drive this, and it is very, very critical for them to upskill themselves because at some point or another, when you talk to them, they get flabbergasted. They can't tell you how much produce has left their field. They can't tell you how much money, whether I've even banked in money to their account, they're not aware of it. So there's a lot of disjoint and mismanaged or misconception in that area that we need to address. But I'm in a fortunate place today to be able to do that because we are at the ground. My team and I are at the ground, speaking face to face with these guys and trying to get them into that new way of working.
Yeah. So you can see that there's quite a lot of opportunity in this area. MDAC has done quite a fair bit of pilot projects also in the area of agriculture. We have projects on the chili farming at Kuala Langat. We also have projects about aquaculture and whatnot as well, right? So you can see that there's a hunger of technology, but someone needs to show the way, right? So I think by having our farm and also corporates trying to look into this area, not just for the profit, but also for the societal uplifting as well. I think this is key moving forward, and this is actually the foundation that we need to do before companies. They need to to be digitally present before they can actually look at how to use data for to be able to use data to manage their finances, to be able to manage their farm operations and whatnot, right, moving forward. Um, so related to our farm again, what would you see the challenges for you to be able to scale further, to more farmers, for example, to form businesses so that they're able to not just help them but also help the businesses to get quality producers so that they're able to expand their businesses.
I think one of the challenges is the speed to market. There's only that many of us in the company that can go out, and this is a very resource intensive sort of environment. You need to physically go to the farm. It's not something that you can verify over the phone whether the guy is selling Timon, which is grade A or grade B or grade C. You need to be there to physically look at that Timon to see whether it's of good quality, whether a Timon is even a Timon or not. So those are some of the challenges that we have. The other bits of challenges that we also have is the fact that a lot of these farms, while we have big intentions of digitalizing them or getting them on e-commerce platforms, they do not have mobile coverage. So when there's no mobile coverage or even data coverage, some of them have mobile coverage but no data coverage. So when the minimalist entry point is data, and they don't have the coverage to do so, then we've lost the battle already there. There's nothing I can say to convince them that they need to be on e-commerce platform after that.
Okay.
And I can't expect them to go out to the nearest town for them to get data. So those are, I think, one or two of our biggest challenges that we are facing today. Number one, resources, and number two, the fact that digitalization is near to impossible for some areas because of the fact that the infrastructure does not support it.
Okay, right. Yeah, I suppose some of these areas it's being addressed right now, especially now that the government is looking at the fiberization initiative and trying to roll out the infrastructure to the rest of the country, right? Okay, so we're going to open up some questions from the floor. So far we have one questions, right? So one of the questions coming from Soma is actually my colleague, right? So the question it asks is, what are the challenges in obtaining agriculture-related data sets? Right. So one of the challenges that we do face as well, it's lack of data sets, right, across different sectors. For example, that what you mentioned earlier on, if you have data related to, who are the farmers, where are they located, then you're able to do, like telco planning, right? So that you can where to put the towers and whatnot, right? So so the question to you is, what are the challenges in obtaining agriculture data? Do you search for this data?
I think one of the bigger challenges that we have is a lot of data that we have today in terms of agriculture resides in the farmer's brain. It's not been outputted because they are lacking digitalization. So they're not tracking the problems or the challenges they face. They're not tracking the good outputs that they are getting. They're not tracking any of those things digitally for us to be able to access those information and make sense of it and try to help them. So as I said earlier, I think it's really a very resource intensive program where we need to go out there physically, pay attention to the farmers to understand and gather that data before it becomes agriculture set of data.
Okay. I'm just wondering whether there's a more innovative way to do this, to reach out to the farmers. Have you tried different ways to look into this? Like, for example, potentially like a crowdsourcing type of initiative.
Actually, there are some organizations that have reached out to us that do satellite tracking of these sort of information. So farmer does not really need to input any form of data anywhere. As long as they're given the authority to do so, the satellites will zoom in and be able to tell you exactly at what maturity your produce is, when it's going to mature, what's lacking in the soil within that produce, and so on and so forth. but those are still prototypes out there. I think it's done by a company in India that has not reached our land yet. I'm sure there are many other companies in Malaysia that have been doing it, but same, I think, across all of, the majority of us don't come from that agri environment. Ask me what a year ago if I knew anything about a timon or a carrot, and I would have said no. The only thing I know is how to cut it and put it into a wok to cook it. Now it's a totally different environment that we're in, and once you get passionate about it, then there's no turning back, because there's an enormous amount of data out there that you can use to track.
Mhm.
It is just that getting that data from the right source, and the right source is really the farmer who really has it all up here.
Mhm.
And turning that into something that makes sense, that can help not only us but also the other farmers out there or the other businesses out there, is that place that we need to crack
Mhm.
and get successful in.
Yeah. So we have a lot of questions related to that. I think a lot of people are quite interested in terms of the area of work that you do, right? So some of the questions asked is like, what are your top challenges when you help the farmers? I think you did mention some of it. Do you want to add any more?
I think some of the other challenges that we also face is the middlemen. They're not very happy that we are there to replace them or enhance the farmers, right? So there's some resistance that we get in some places, but it's nothing too challenging for us right now. But again, the more data we have will be definitely a lot better for us to make planning, projections, predictive measures, which we don't have today. Everything is a challenge. Let me just share with you a story. We were about to deliver 2 tons of green lemons to a business in Sarawak, is in Sabah, sorry. And it was a Friday delivery, and Friday morning we did get a call from the farmer frantically informing us that business arrival had torched his farm and he lost all his produce.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are the things that you can never predict, that no amount of data is going to help you solve. It is things that you need to be hands-on, just run, try and figure out how you can help this farmer, because we truly are in the business of helping people. At the same time, figuring out how to help the business, because the business is eagerly waiting for their limau. So those are the kind of challenges that we have to face on a daily basis.
Okay. Yeah. So I think there's questions around that as well. Like Suta Krishnan actually asked, Malaysia bigger farmers are still monopolizing the market price. Small farmers are affected by this. How our farm can manage this in the long run?
A very good question. We are trying our best in this area, as I think mentioned a bit earlier. We try to understand farmers' situations and help them best address the pricing from their point of view. We truly have seen us increasing farmers' incomes by 5 to 8% at this point in time, and we aim to increase that by a further 10% by 2021. So how we do this is we really do try and get the farmer a little bit more independent by upskilling them. So farmers usually just harvest, put in a basket, and wait for someone to come and pick it up. But now we teach them how to package it in smaller packages. We teach them how to sanitize it. We teach them how to manage their own business, worry about pricing, worry about the produce grading, and so on and so forth. Therefore, we try and help upskill them for them to earn a little bit more money from where they were before.
Okay. And also there's a question that asks about, the demand for agriculture products are reducing due to COVID effect. I'm not sure how true that is, but how can our farm support farmers during these uncertain times?
Okay, so yes, you're right. I mean, as a broad statement, the demand for agriculture produce are reducing. That's also mainly contributed to the fact that a lot of borders are still closed, and previously we used to export a lot of our local produce internationally. And we also have seen businesses or local restaurants and eateries closing because they have the footfall has reduced. Um, so how AirAsia as a group has stepped in or has tried to come out to help them is number one, we've created a platform called Our Food or AirAsia Food, sorry, and we allow uh, eateries to continue doing home delivery businesses at not enormous margins that they had to give away previously to other food delivery companies. We also do create businesses. As I mentioned, I think earlier to you, Doctor, was the fact that we're working with various different Panjana funds to help small individuals set up small pasar projects. So when pasar projects are set up within community areas and we provide them with the produce, then we are creating businesses and creating opportunities for people to have their own business while still supporting the farmers by creating new markets for them.
Okay. Right. Tell me a bit more about the food business, right? So this is a new venture that Tony has started, right?
Yes.
And you can actually see him in a motorbike, in a delivery, right? My question is, does he actually go out and do delivery the whole day, or is just for a photo gimmick?
No, it's well. The answer is yes and no. He does go out and make deliveries, but I'm quite sure it's not the whole day because he is a really busy man. But it is not a photo gimmick. He is a man who is very hands-on in the business. I can speak for myself when I say we go to the farm, he follows us sometimes, or when there's a crisis in the farm or we need to pack something up to teach the farmers, he's there to teach the farmers along with us. And he's also very eager to learn. So he's always there trying to figure out things along with us because all of us are new. The entire company is established without people who have been in the agro business. And that's the way Tony likes it. He doesn't want to put someone who's a specialist in agriculture in there and then start thinking within a box. So he puts a bunch of people who are not in the agriculture space so that we start thinking out of the box in our own ways, right? So short answer is he's very hands-on. So I believe that it's not a gimmick. I'm quite certain, in fact, that he does do his food deliveries.
All right. So the next question is, how big is your team doing this, and what sort of talent that you actually have within the team to be able to do something like this in a short period of time?
Very, very good and interesting question. We started this project in June with 8 people. Today we are up to 34 people. What talent is required? Anyone can do this as long as you have the passion to learn and the passion to help. So we've got anyone from a pilot to a ex-crew to myself. I was never an agriculture specialist in this area, but we're all together working things out. The crew, especially pilots and the cabin crew, are excellent because they are all food safety certified already with all the food safety immunizations that they require, and they know how to handle all these different food because they've been for the training and stuff like that. The rest of us have recently gone for these trainings and gotten our jabs, very painful one in fact. But anyone who is passionate enough, we want them on board.
Oh, okay. So in terms of composition of people, are these technical people? Do you have like a team of like programmers, developers, and like a fixed role for these people, or is it based on the skill sets of these people, and then you just go around?
So the tech team actually sits in the group level. There is a specific tech team within the group of AirAsia that manages all of AirAsia's tech requirements. But we do have product people on our end to help determine the requirements that are very specific to our side because we are a B2B environment that deals with fresh produce. It's very different from selling a perfume or selling a flight ticket. So there are product people within our environment that look into our interests, but they work with the developers at the group level. In terms of the other skill sets within the group is our business development to get in more businesses to buy with us, our farmer management team who are predominantly people who have worked in our ground crew before or who are ex-crew members. They're very passionate about it because they get to speak with people and that's what they want. Then we've got our operations team to make sure that things are running smoothly. We've got our logistic team that manages the coordination of logistics, and of course we have our marketing and commercial team.
Right. So it requires a lot of different talent from different perspective to make this work. About does any of your team members how competent are they when it comes to data literacy? Are they very do they look at data in terms of decision making, in terms of the area of work that you do?
I think anyone working in AirAsia is data first in our approach. Be it data that's shown out from a computer or data that is presented to us in terms of observation and data from the news. So let me give you an example of what happened just before Diwali. Diwali was last Saturday, I believe, and we had a farmer coming to our office and he was in tears telling us that he had an oversupply of eggs, and getting into Diwali, he's going to have eggs that are going to be in his store and not going to be purchased, and therefore he's going to go into loss of business. So gut feeling told us, it's Diwali, we're going to close our business as well. I mean, majority of us, not closing the business, but majority of us are going to be on leave. The business is still open, but a lot of businesses also are reducing their intake. So let's not take eggs from this guy. We try and help him with maybe 100 or 200 trays. But when we looked at data around us, there were press releases from Parliament where they spoke about the farmers suffering, the egg farmers suffering. There was data showing us there was an increase of the egg requirements within our base, within our own organization. So we did take a risk. We did go out with the data that was presented to us in our hand. And that was almost a week ago. Last week was Deepavali. Now is one Saturday. Tomorrow is Saturday already. We have managed to clear almost 3,000 trays of egg and help the farmer. So he had 1,800 trays in his store. We cleared all of his. Then he told us about his brother who needed help, and we cleared all of the brothers. And now we're clearing a lot more. So data plays a very important part, be it whether it gets shown up from a computer or whether it's observational-based data.
Okay, right. So that's actually a very, very good example of how data can actually plays an important role in driving the businesses and also to make the right decision at the right time.
Yeah.
Right. So okay. So let me just look at another questions. Okay. So just moving forward, what are the current strategies that is currently employed by OURFARM to make sure that whatever initiative that you do right now is sustainable and scalability moving forward? Because you did mention that there's some challenges in educating the farmers. There's some challenges in terms of predicting the demand, right? So we still have to look at the data points as well, right? So moving forward, how would you look at employing what strategy to make sure that this is more sustainable moving forward?
From my observation, and this comes from observation of the last 5 months, the farmer industry is of an aged society. They're 65, they're 58, they're 72. When you speak to these farmers, children are doctors, lawyers, engineers, pilots, whoever not. So the next generation has not been formed to take over the business. I think one of the ways to be sustainable and grow in the digitalized business is to get the youth excited about farming again, or in other words, make farming sexy again for them, right? Make it an industry that people want to gain into. And what better way? I mean, if I go up to say Joe on the roadside, or Ali or Mutu or whoever not on the roadside, and I tell them that, hey, I give you a piece of land and you please grow chili, they'd be like, but I did my degree in IT, or I did my degree in data science, or I did my degree in marketing. Why would I want to do that? Because that's the mindset now, right? But if I go to Ali or Muthu or whoever not on the road and I say, hey, you know what, I've got a piece of land for you that you can go you can go Chile, but I'll give you an iPad that gets you flying a drone to fertilize. I'll give you another iPad for you to use a robotic arm to do the harvesting of it and all those kind of things. Then suddenly, hey, my IT degree makes sense, right? I can use my IT experience in this environment, or
Mm.
the world is digital again. Wow, this is now something I might be interested in doing. So it's really important for us to find ways and means to make the industry sexy again and get the youth involved, because once the youth is involved, then digitalization of the industry is so much more easier and more acceptable in that environment. And of course, we need to look into more things like contract farming, where we contract people to farm for you and increase our food sustainability in Malaysia, which is currently at 25% food sustainability only. So there are lots of room for us to grow within this country. We've got lots of luscious land. We've got lots of opportunities for being produce or even poultry, meat, and so on and so forth. But there's no one interested to do it and grow that business.
Yeah.
So it's important for us to get into that mindset and change people's perception that agriculture is only for the uneducated or the people who are my grandfather and so on and so forth. We need to bring the youth back into the game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this, because I think when MDEC actually did the Chile, project, the smart fertigation project, the farmers don't believe that this can be done at that cost price at the affordable level, and that they're able to monitor and control their fertigation using like a mobile phone, right? And once we did that, I think they believe that this is actually possible. And a lot of them have a lot of free time now, like during the MCO, they don't have to go to their farm. They can just control the fertigation system, and they can even measure the pH level and of the farms, the plant directly, right? And gives them a lot more time to do other things, right? So I think this is critical moving forward, and this need to be able to do this, because sometimes people feel that digitization is expensive, right? But it's not, right? All you need to do is the eagerness to learn, and you already have a lot of these things in your pocket, right? Devices that you're able to make use. And all you need to do is to realize this potential and to get connected with like-minded people as well. I think that's in the industry today, in the agriculture, is need to make sure that it's very limited people who advocate digitization in the agriculture, and all of us need to get together, and then work hand in hand together to make sure that just benefits and the awareness actually goes right up to the ground level, and that we're able to create more solutions, right? I think this critical is we need to build an ecosystem, making sure that there's more digital solutions that are able to help the farmers and make it affordable as well, so that they're able to use this and then able to attract the younger generation into this, right?
I fully agree.
Yeah. So we're coming nearly towards the end of our session for today. Let me just close this by asking you some questions, like some would you like to give some advice to business enterprises? There's during the MCO, I actually checked the Smart Automation Grant. It's actually a grant scheme given to businesses in the service sector who wants to go into digitization. And a lot of them comes in and submit a lot of different proposals, and some of them involve, changing the way they do business. Right? We have companies who are offering like company secretary services, and now during the MCO, they would like to create a platform to be able to do this online. To instead of serving one to one, they want to serve one to many, right? Same time, there's a lot of companies that wants to, like caregiver, they're doing like caregiving within a center, and now they actually want the platform to be able to help other caregivers like nurses to be able to offer the services to many more people, right? So there's a lot of this people like this, right? So my point is, what advice would you like to give to businesses who are thinking about digitization, they're thinking about pivoting, what can they do, right, during this time?
I think given the new norm that we're in, if we fail to digitalize and modernize ourselves, we are going to be left behind, and I can face quite bad situations if, like in the case of Kodak, they didn't want to digitalize and they got wiped out. So digitalization is a must in the current situation. But in digitalizing, I think we should never take our eye off external factors. We should also understand um, what what we're trying to achieve and how we're going to achieve that, and what that problem statement is that we are trying to address. If we randomly just digitalize everything, I think we're in trouble as well. Then you've just lost the human element in everything. But there are areas that we need to keep human touch in. I think one of which is probably clinics and hospitals. We don't want to digitalize that too much and remove the human interaction in that area. But there are areas that definitely we can move into digitalization. But I think one of the major things that I have been taught throughout my journey in both telco world and even in Asia now is always go back to the basics. Number one, look at the external factors that are driving you towards this. Look at your internal factors or your problem statements that you need to address. And more importantly, go back to school basics. What's the what, the when, the how, the who that we're trying to achieve? If you don't have the answer for all this, go back to the drawing back, go back to basics and address all of those before coming out with a plan.
Okay, excellent advice. And how would data plays a role in trying to achieve, some of these outcomes that you mentioned earlier on?
Yeah. So data, I think I saw a video recently of two kids trying to explain how data works. Data can be in any form. It can be in the form of hair color, an eye color, the food you eat, and all that. So you don't need to have a data management system or a data scientist to start where you're starting. Look and observe against what you have in hand today, and also look and observe what you have outside your external factors. Read the newspapers, gather data from Google, gather data from YouTube, wherever you need to, and use those data to make sense of what you're trying to do. So data can be in any form, guys. I think a lot of people have this misconception that for me to analyze data, I need to own the data. The data needs to be in a machine somewhere that has AI and machine learning and all that around it. No, data is everywhere around us. So use that observation skills you have to make sense of your data.
I think that's a perfect, definition and explanation in terms of data literacy, right? You need to make sure that you're aware of data and that you use data for decision making. It doesn't matter, where this data comes from, right? It could be published data, it could be insights from, external sources, could be internal sources, and it could be public sources as well. But what is important is you take this data and you synthesize and you make a decision based on this data for the benefits of yourself or your businesses moving forward, right? Um, and it's important to make sure that we have this data literacy moving forward because in the future there'll be a lot more digitization, right? And this is critical as well moving forward. Is that without digitization, we cannot attract younger people into the agriculture industry. That's key moving forward, right? And without the younger people, we cannot um, make sure that the food security issues that we're facing right now is addressed because we need new generation to take up agriculture. And you can see that there's a lot of opportunity here. We have land, we have new digital solutions that are being created. At the same time, platforms such as OURFARM as well to help the farmers moving forward, right? So together, I think we can make this happen, and we want to make sure that the digitization and also being data driven is to make sure that we have a sustainable business as well as industry moving forward. With that, I'd like to thank you, Lalita, for your time. We have learned a lot from this, I think, and whatever you do, it's actually not just for Asia alone, but also to uplift our society as well, and also to make sure that we have a sustainable agriculture sector moving forward. With that, thank you, and thank you to all attendees.
Thank
We're
you.
going to do a group selfie right now. So what we'll do is just click go selfie, and then take your own picture, and then this will be in the group photo. Right? So this group selfie will be emailed to all of the attendees. Right, there's 4 people finished the selfie. Let's wait for more. Okay, please click the button, the selfie button, take the picture, and then you'll be part and parcel of this picture. All right, I think we have a lot of shy participants here. Right, so thank you, Lalita, for your time, and I wish you all the best in your venture.
Thank you so much for having me over.
All right. Okay.